couple minutes. Why don't we start, and then Trustee McGee will be joining us momentarily, maybe even before we get to her name, when we call the roll. So let me start by again saying thank you to the board for coming. Thank you for our guests that are here. Again, we are still following social distancing, mask wearing inside the building. If possible, try to keep 6 feet from other groups. There is, as always, a video of the meeting is being broadcast on cable television, YouTube, and will also be available on Facebook and posted to the village website. At this time, I'd call the meeting to order and ask Clerk Saladino to call the roll.
Trustee Augustine?
Here.
Trustee Gale?
Here.
Trustee Katinik?
Here.
Trustee O'Brien?
Here.
Trustee Peterson?
Here.
Trustee McGee?
And I know Trustee McGee texted me and said she's minutes away, so she will be walking in, and we'll note that she,
There we go.
we got her walking in right now. So if she raises her hand, we'll count her as present. And there
Trustee
we go.
McGee is present, and President Kugler.
Here, thank you very much. Tonight, we are going to talk about the movie theater, so I want to move the agenda around a little bit if it's all right. Maybe, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Once Trustee McGee gets close to the chair. There we go.
Please
Clerk
rise.
Saladino, if you can lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
So if we can, I'm going to start with a manager's report. I'm then going to do a president's report of everything but the movie theater. Then I'm going to do the movie theater, at which time I will be talking about a proposal that has been generated and give details about that. I will then open it up for comments regarding agenda items, including the movie theater, if that seems to work. So, Village Manager Peterson.
Thank you, President Kugler. The Drug Enforcement Administration is coordinating a national effort to collect unwanted, unused, and expired medications on Saturday, October 23rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Police Department lobby at 304 West Burlington Avenue will serve as a regional drop-off facility. In order to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 virus, participants are asked to follow the CDC guidelines, including wearing a mask that covers your mouth and nose and maintain distancing. Residents can also drop off unused medications at any time, as the police department has a permanent collection box located in their lobby that is open to the public. For more information, including a list of acceptable and unacceptable at www.lagrangeil.gov. Fire Prevention Week is October 3rd through the 9th, and the fire department reminds residents that October is the time to make sure your smoke detectors and the 2021 Fire Prevention Week theme, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety, also reminds us it is important to learn the different sounds of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. It is also important that those devices meet the needs of all family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. The fire department has included several reminders and activities on the village's website to help remind residents of the importance of knowing the sounds of fire safety, including an interactive Jeopardy-style game. For more information regarding fire prevention, please visit the village website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Village Manager Peterson. Moving on to the President's report. Again, as always, want to thank the residents and businesses for their continued diligence with following the CDC and the IDPH guidelines to reduce transmission of COVID-19. As everyone knows, health professionals continue to strongly encourage everyone to pursue vaccinations. We join with them in doing so. To find a vaccination center near you, please visit www.vaccines.gov. For more information regarding COVID-19, please visit the Village's website at www.lagrangeil.gov/COVID. Stormwater, it's raining out there tonight. It's been raining on and off all day, but we need to discuss going back a little bit. Since the significant storm events on June 26th, I've been reporting on the Village's efforts to help reduce flooding and identify funding for flood mitigation projects through a number of legislative, legal, and engineering initiatives. The Village has identified projects to help reduce flooding, each of which has its own sets of challenges, costs, and benefits. Additional projects are also in the process of being studied by the Village's engineers, both Baxter & Woodman and Chris Burke Engineering. Each of these projects require partnerships with various agencies such as the MWRD, Illinois Department of Transportation, Cook County, and potentially other taxing bodies. The problem is a regional one, and we will continue to require all entities to work diligently along with the Village to find a solution. Towards that end, since our last meeting, the Village has applied for funding for the 50th Street Relief Sewer Project through FEMA and their BRIC, B-R-I-C, and HMP programs. On Wednesday, I will be participating in a Cook County Town Hall meeting to discuss the use of the county's allocation of ARPA funds, which were the COVID relief funds. And you may have heard they have about $1 billion, and we're trying to get a portion of that for our flood relief programs. The event will begin at 6 p.m. and will be live streamed on Cook County's Facebook page, allowing the public to share their thoughts on how the ARPA funds should be allocated. Lagrange has already advocated in writing and in person to the Cook County Board that the ARPA funds should be allocated towards stormwater mitigation projects in Lagrange to reduce the amount of water entering Lagrange from other areas of the region. I encourage the public to attend and to participate in this meeting. I will also be participating in 2 meetings coordinated by Lyons Township on October 19th and November 2nd regarding regional stormwater issues. You know, probably haven't said it enough, but it's very important for me to note that although I may generally be the face of the Village on this issue as Village President, each and every member of the Village Board is working hard to provide input and support these critical initiatives, putting in many hours, both in preparation for and during public meetings, as well as outside meetings. Every member of the Village Board and staff is committed and dedicated to working to find solutions and believes that this is a significant priority. We'll continue to update the community on our efforts and on our progress. Moving on to a much happier note, we are celebrating Skeletober in Lagrange this month and welcome visitors to enjoy our costume-friendly skeletons located throughout downtown. Visitors are encouraged to take pictures with our skeleton friends and post them on social media by tagging the Lagrange Business Association and using the hashtag Skeletober to be entered in random prize drawings throughout the month. Postings will be entered in random drawings through October for fun prizes from our local businesses. Please also participate in the skeleton scavenger hunt available throughout the month. Visit www.skeletober.com to get the first clue to our Halloween adventure. Find all the clues and you will be entered into a random prize drawing. Also enjoy a spirited tour of Lagrange featuring Halloween-themed drinks at our restaurants beginning October 16th. I'd like to thank Nancy Cummings and the LGBA for all the effort that goes into these wonderful programs. The Village's long-standing partnership with the LGBA provides experiences and opportunities that showcase our business and community. Trick-or-treating hours will be on Halloween, October 31, and they're from 3 to 8. To help everyone be safe, if you are choosing to participate in Halloween activities, please follow the 3 W's. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. So I guess those are also the 3 W's for COVID. After Halloween, please consider composting your pumpkin at the Pumpkin Smash of 2021. Green your Halloween. It's going to be held on Saturday, November 6th from 10 to noon at the Lagrange Park Department of Public Works at 937 Barnesdale Road. The program is sponsored by the Lagrange Environmental Quality Commission and the Lagrange Park Sustainability Commission. This October, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is launching a National Pedestrian Safety Month with a goal of increasing awareness about pedestrian safety and reminding drivers and walkers that staying safe is a shared responsibility. Even though it's Pedestrian Month, we'll add in our bicycle riders. With the great warm weather, a lot of kids are riding to school, so please keep an eye out for them. As the end of daylight savings time approaches and the nights get longer, the risks for both pedestrian and bicyclists increase. As a partner in the effort, the Lagrange Police Department has posted a video to their Facebook page with reminders for motorists when approaching intersections, crosswalks, and to look for passing bicyclists. We ask that all residents and visitors be the change, travel safely in Lagrange. Another great thing I want to discuss is the honor flight. I want to congratulate Lagrange resident and Vietnam War veteran, Miss Betty Paps, who was chosen for an honor flight as part of Operation Her Story, a historic all-woman veteran flight to Washington, D.C. Ms. Paps served our country during the Vietnam War and beyond as a flight nurse and a colonel in the Air Force. She also served in Saudi Arabia and through the U.S. Ms. Paps was also a professor of nursing at the Chicago City Colleges. So we wish to congratulate Ms. Paps and thank her for her service both in our community and throughout our country and to our country. And that allows me a great segue into discussion about the Lagrange Theater. Tonight, we're going to have the opportunity to vote on amending the agreement with the Lagrange Theater. The agreement is different than what was originally proposed by the theater owners. Before I go into the specifics about the proposal, I want to say some thank yous. I want to thank the village board for their hard work and their patience. It was a long process, but the theater is important, and the village's investment was and is significant. On these types of matters, it's easy to take a position and not be flexible, but successful projects or proposals require give and take. They take listening to various stakeholders and working together as a board. I want to congratulate the board for doing so. I want to thank the village staff. The makeup of the village board changes every 2 years, so we rely on staff to provide background reports and to evaluate various submissions and proposals, and they're important to us. I want to thank Nancy Cummings, Executive Director of the LGBA. Nancy's a wonderful advocate for all of the LGBA members. She came and spoke at our last meeting, and I do appreciate it. I want to thank the businesses that came to make sure that we know how important the theater is to our downtown. Last, but of course not least, I want to thank our residents. The residents, of course, spoke favorably about the theater and told great stories and shared wonderful memories. Residents also talked about the investment of the TIF money, the $1 million that was invested, which allowed for the theater repairs to be made in 2009. The residents also spoke up, both at this meeting and on social media, how important it was in 2021 to not just forgive that investment, but to make sure that there's some opportunity for continued investment, economic development. Moving on to the proposal. Last week, Trustee Kutinik and I met with John Rott, Dan Chop, the two owners of the theater and the theater building, as well as Chris Johnson, owner of Classic Cinemas. We discussed how important that the theater is to Lagrange and how much better the theater will be with Classic Cinemas managing it. Trustee Kutinik and I again inquired about an entertainment tax. Chris Johnson stated that he would be agreeable to an entertainment tax if it could help offset his over $1 million investment to make the theater a first-run theater. He emphasized that he's doing so, investing that $1 million of Classic Cinemas money because he wants it to be a first-run theater. He also wants it to be a best-in-class movie theater. And his willingness to do that is fantastic for Lagrange. Trustee Kutinik and I proposed a 50-cent per ticket tax where the village would retain 25 cents and rebate to Classic Cinema 25 cents. Accordingly, if 180,000 tickets are sold annually, the entertainment tax would generate $90,000. $45,000 of that would be spent or retained by the village to be spent on economic development. $45,000 of that would be rebated to Classic Cinemas. If we sell 200,000, if Classic Cinema sells $200,000 or 200,000 tickets, $100,000 in taxes would be generated. $50,000 will be retained by the village, and $50,000 will be given to Classic Cinemas to offset their investments and costs. It's frequently done by communities, other communities that have car dealers. A lot of times a portion of the sales tax will be rebated by the municipality to the car dealers. Under this proposal, the current theater owners, John and Dan, would be released pursuant to an amended agreement from the lien. The theater owners, however, would not share in the entertainment tax. The entertainment tax and the revised agreement will not cost the village any additional money. In fact, it will provide a substantial amount of money that will be used for economic development and funding activities in the downtown. I've had residents suggest more opportunities for music downtown. I've also had residents inquire about having an Oktoberfest. These are some possibilities that can be explored by the village board now that we have more economic development money coming into the village. So the vote today, which will be a roll call vote, will be to request that the village's attorney draft an ordinance that provides for an entertainment tax and a rebate of 50% of the tax to Classic Cinemas. In addition, the board will be requesting that Attorney Birkeland amend the agreement with the theater to remove the lien. So at this time, I'll open the floor to any residents that have any questions, comments. I will then move on to the trustees to ask if they have any questions or comments before conducting a vote. Please.
Unfortunately, my phone is locked because I can't see my face, so give me a second, please. I have some notes. My name is Jim Longino. I'm a resident of Lagrange. I've been here for over 20 plus years. I just wanted to say a few quick things. I'll try to make it real brief. The new information that the village president has just brought to light changes some of the comments that I would have made. So I'm just going to go and be very simple about this. 10 years ago when this deal came to our town with John Rott and Dan, we were, many residents were kind of skeptical. I was one of many residents who came up and said that we wanted to have this theater maintained as a theater. And this creative financing that we used with our TIF money made that come to light. So the whole idea in my mind is we want to prevent the theater from ever being torn down because as we've seen in other villages and in other cities,
Once an architectural gem like that, that's used for entertainment, is removed from the rolls, it generally never comes back. So what I want to say is that we have a small leverage right now to maintain what we wanted to do, which was, as always, to maintain this theater as an entertainment venue that is used to attract residents, individuals and families, as well as make our downtown vibrant, and also as a draw for the restaurants and other businesses here. And it's been successful. And under Mr. Rod and Mr. Dan Chop, right? They both have done a very good job of doing what they said they were out to do 10 years ago. My concern as a resident right now with the TIF money is this. Right now, if the goal is to make sure that the theater is maintained as such, once you release that lien, we have no control. Someone could come in, not classic theaters. I'm sure that they've done a very good job in the theaters they've had. But given the situation, and it could be volatile at some point with the markets and such, what happens if businesses change and classic cinema or John or whoever can no longer want to keep that as a theater, and they have a $15 million condo development that could go there, and $1 million basically is nothing when you consider the amount of development cost. What can we do as a village to maintain that theater stays as an attraction for the community in perpetuity? Because otherwise, we would be fallow with what could be there, which may not be as big of an attraction as what this theater is going to maintain. So that's my point. I hope you consider that. I do want to see a successful relationship with the businesses. I hope the businesses remember that we do support them, and they also support the residents when we come up here and have a majority asking for a mutual consideration for things that would help other people like our employees with benefits and wages too. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you consider making sure we can maintain this theater as a theater. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Julie Snevice. I am here on behalf of my husband, Paul, and we have 3 children, and we live in Lagrange, 3 teenage girls. I was actually born and raised in Lagrange, so I have a lot of passion to the town. So I thought I would read a little bit of the letter that was submitted for consideration here tonight. There are many things that make a town like Lagrange attractive to home buyers and residents, and chief among them is a sense of community and belonging, along with an economically vibrant downtown. Now more than ever, our small businesses are struggling, and we've seen that turnover firsthand here in Lagrange, from Anderson's to Nixon's to Araceli's and others. A renovation of the downtown Lagrange Theater will keep it as a vibrant economic engine for this community. And I think it is the board's responsibility and our responsibility to be friendly to our businesses in this town and to make sure that we can keep a vibrant economic downtown that attracts residents, attracts restaurants and shops, and keeps our community strong. We strongly support the proposal that's moving forward here tonight and ask for your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing one more.
Hi, my name is Ashley Connor, and my family and I just moved here 2 years ago, just before COVID hit. I've got a 10-year-old son, and the reason I'm here tonight is because he looked at me at dinner. He said, "Mom, please go try and save the theater. I've never had an experience there, and I want one." I can tell you, backing what Julie just said, since we moved here, we lost Armand's, we lost Calbay, we lost Araceli's, just to name a few, and we moved to Lagrange because of the vibrant downtown, and it offered something different than the other suburbs, so it would be devastating to see them go away. So we hope that you support the proposal that's on the table tonight.
Thank you very much, and I have a feeling you'll be able to go back and tell your son that you saved the movie theater, and hopefully he'll behave for a couple of days due to your hero-ness. and I know we have a person coming, but I do just want to echo and say, yes, we did lose some great businesses in Lagrange, but all three of those properties have already been released. One has already opened. The other two are under construction. So it's always unfortunate. We hate to see any businesses close, but we do welcome the next round that comes through, and we know that our residents and our frequent visitors will support those businesses. So please.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Whitney, and I'm a new resident. Oh, Lauren Whitney, Swindle. Lauren Whitney is, I'm an architectural photographer, and I'm also a resident here. I have photographed so many theaters and just anything that's structural significance. The last time I spoke to one of these things was Save Our Street in Burton Place, and I was nervous. I'm nervous now, but I'm very focused on what I have to say. It's a no-brainer. It's very simple. Save the theater. Business evolves, it adapts, and you have to adapt with business. That's common sense, but with this, the marquee, I kind of briefly read that the marquee is going to be changing. I don't know the rules with speaking, but is that true?
Generally we're not set up for really question and answer, but I'm happy to address that. The marquee will be changing or most likely. What they would like to do is put a sign in the middle of where the white letters are now. So a lot of the sign will stay the same.
Okay.
Except it's possible that Chris Johnson's father will get personally involved and actually bring back the vertical sign. So it's even possible that we'll have a better sign than what's out there now if we can convince Mr. Johnson to take some personal responsibility in that. So we're hoping.
Well, thank you for answering my question. Perhaps you can put some contingencies in that, because it's great that this business wants to keep the theater, but it's also great to keep what's original and preserve it for what it is. I mean, that is Lagrange. That sign, okay, I'll just say it. Inside the theater is, I'm sorry. The outside is, wow, it's very good. And it's very important to keep that sign because that's kind of what's left. Am I right? The inside's kind of... So my point is, save the theater. This is so simple. Thank you. Oh, and I'd happy to shoot it for you guys to document. It would be my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I think that the board could not agree more. The marquee is known. The marquee will change, will adapt, but a lot of it will stay, maybe even be improved upon. They understand and love the theater, both John and Dan and Classic Cinemas. So I'm not concerned that they're going to make major changes that are detrimental to the historic aspect. As far as the inside of the theater, that's where the $1 million is going to be spent. It's going to be spent on finishing the floors, leveling them out, putting in new screens, making the theaters more intimate. Many of them will only hold 50 chairs, but they'll be the best #1 chairs that are available on the market. And all those things are what's going to really make this the #1 theater in Illinois. I truly believe that. So thank you for your comments. And not seeing any other comments, I will open it up to any trustee questions or comments. Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kugler. Would just like to quickly start off by addressing something that resident Jim Longino had discussed, and it's a good point regarding the lien, but there are no guarantees that it stays a theater with the deal or without. There's an option for them, as you said, to sell, pay us back, and it can be anything they want. I think what makes this deal special is knowing these folks who have been invested in our community for so long. These conversations have been ongoing for a while. There's some trust and faith involved, but also some good conversations and some a fair amount of understanding that this is absolutely their intention, which is to keep it a theater, just to make it a better theater. And it's all about that, a bit of incentive to make sure that that can happen. So that's really where this is. But we believe, I think most of us believe up here, especially at this point, that that is the end goal. Keep it a theater as long as theaters are theaters. So I think I feel more comfortable with that than I ever did. And I think you'll see that in the days and weeks to come with the final agreement. And beyond that, I think, tonight, we've all had some time since the last meeting to think about this, let it soak in, see some of the comments online, perhaps, from your neighbors, and to discuss it. Still seems to be widely supported, and for good reason. And I don't need to discuss any more of the points regarding why I support it. I think that's pretty well understood. But I'll just like to finish off before we move forward and hear some other comments that I don't want to take what we have for granted. Yes, we see restaurants and businesses come and go. Yes, the business climate is changing. But in Lagrange, our success has grown from a grassroots effort, Jim, you were there, and a willingness to support and foster strength in our town. And it just didn't happen. It didn't just happen because businesses just kept reinvesting in themselves. It was the community and the support of this great village staff all working together, and they continue to do so. So it's good planning and tough decisions. I don't think the decision 13 years ago was easy, and it's maybe a little easier tonight, but they're usually pretty tough, the decisions we make. And first impressions and perceptions are priceless, like one of the other residents said. When you drive down Lagrange, you want to see that beautiful sign, and I feel strongly that they'll maintain the neon and the Lagrange that we all love, and then they will update the board. And people will continue to drive through Lagrange and go, wow, this is a special place. And I hope that we can continue to support this and other things and use this as a catalyst for greater things and to continue to evolve Lagrange to be the best town that it can be. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. Trustee Kotinik.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Just on your comments on the proposal that we'll be voting on, specific to the entertainment tax, there's no maturity date on that. That's open-ended, correct?
Yes, that'll go indefinitely. So it's not. It won't end when I think what you're getting at. It won't end when the village recovers the $1 million. It will continue on and be used going forward for future economic development.
Great. That's correct. That answers my question. So I guess my comment is I'm very pleased and satisfied how this discussion and negotiation per se has evolved over the last 2 weeks. I think all three parties came into this creatively, and I truly think this is a win-win-win across the board, and the third party being the village itself. So I'll be supporting this initiative tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Kotinik. Seeing no other trustee comments or questions, I will ask for a motion to instruct our village attorney.
I move we instruct the village attorney as you presented in your president's report.
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Gale and Trustee Augustine. At this time, I'd ask Clerk Saladino to call a roll call vote.
Trustee Peterson?
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien?
Aye.
Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee Kotinik?
Aye.
Trustee Gale?
Aye.
Trustee Augustine?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. So I think that's great. I think the deal truly is, as Trustee Kotinik said, a win-win-win. It's wonderful when we can have things that are win-win-wins. So Attorney Birkeland, your work's cut out, but I know that you'll work with their attorneys to make sure that everybody has a proposal that's fair, recognizes what we've agreed to. We encourage, and we'll continue to encourage use of the theaters and look forward to signing that when it's ready. So thanks, and I guess I do see Chris Johnson in the background. So I don't know, Chris, if you want to talk at all about the sign, or if you just want to wait to see what happens, I'll leave it up to you.
I'll just say that we're dedicated to preserving the historic look and feel of the theater, and anything that we can save that keeps it historic, we're definitely going to work toward that. So that's the spirit of the way that we operate, hence the name Classic Cinemas. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your investment in Lagrange. We look forward to working with you. So thanks, and that's wonderful. I'm now moving on, and will request that Clerk Saladino read the items on the consent portion of the agenda, followed by the items under the current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they've already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or being determined to have been of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved to the consent agenda from consent agenda to current business for separate consideration.
Please.
Item A, ordinance, an additional Class G1 liquor license, Milk Money Brewing, LLC, doing business as Milk Money Brewing. Item B, ordinance, amendment to plan development final plans, Amita Health Adventist Medical Center, Lagrange. Item C, award of contract, 47th Street Sidewalk Replacement Project. Item D, contract amendment, 2021 sewer repair and lining program, change order. Item E, contract amendment, CBD streetscape project, change orders. Item F, agreement, updated model pole attachment license agreement for small wireless facilities. Item G, material purchase, Public Works, fiscal year 2021-22 tree planting program. Resolution, Public Works, Suburban Tree Consortium. Item H, ordinance, amending Chapter 72 of the Lagrange Code of Ordinances regarding parking regulations. Item I, ordinance, amending Chapter 78 of the Lagrange Code of Ordinances regarding parking schedules. Item J, minutes of the Village of Lagrange Board of Trustees regular meeting Monday, September 27th, 2021. Item K, consolidated voucher 211011. Current business. This agenda item includes consideration of matters being presented to the Board of Trustees for action. One item, a fiscal year 2020-2021 comprehensive annual financial report.
Thank you, Clerk Saladino. At this time, I would ask for a motion for is there any discussion on the consent portion of the agenda?
President Kugler, as previously stated, I recuse myself from any and all agenda items regarding the village prosecutor.
Thank you, Trustee Augustine. And then I would entertain a motion and a second on the consent portion of the agenda.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
And then ask Clerk Saladino to conduct a vote.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee O'Brien.
Aye.
Trustee McGee.
Aye.
Trustee Kutinik.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. I do want to just emphasize one item, and that's 2A. Earlier today, the Liquor Commission met with Trustee Kutinik and Trustee Augustine, and we heard the request by Milk Money Brewing for a caterer's license, which just got approved today. So they'll have that license. Their first event is going to be in November, a bourbon and beer event It's going to raise money for cystic fibrosis. It'll be outdoors in the parking lot that is next to Floyd's. So we welcome that. Those are activities, again, that really make Lagrange a special place. So we're happy to grant them that catering license to allow them to host these type of events. And we're sure this will be successful, and we're looking forward to many more similar. So thank you on that. Moving on, I guess I'll ask just to make sure. I know we heard from the people regarding the movie theater, but is there anybody else who has any comments on matters that are on the agenda? And seeing none, then I will move on to current business. Today, we're going to talk about some financial documents, including the audit report. We have Dan Berg with us today, who's partner at Sikich and does our auditing. I know he'll have some words to say about our reports. And I know that Trustee Peterson will be introducing the report. I do want to take the opportunity to thank Lou Ciparoni and Joe Munuza for the hard work. I've heard it a lot of times, how hard you guys work on this and throughout the year on our financial documents. They're always award-winning. And Dan Berg, I'm sure will say again, how he relied on our staff to do a lot of the work, which keeps down the costs, which saves taxpayer money, which allows us to use the money on other projects, including flooding relief. And so I appreciate all the work that all the departments do with our common goal to spend and utilize the taxpayers' money as efficiently as possible. So with that, I would ask Trustee Peterson to introduce this.
Thank you, President Kukler. You have all received the comprehensive annual financial report, and it's posted on the website for the Village of Lagrange for fiscal year May 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021, as prepared by the Finance Department and reviewed by our auditors, Sikich LLP. Sikich has rendered a clean opinion for the Village of Lagrange, stating that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the village and results of operations as of April 30th, 2021. Also attached is the auditor's communication to the village board, which includes the following documents. Required communication, a letter from the auditors dated September 4th, 2021, which is the last day of field work, reflecting the end of the audit engagement, regarding certain professional auditing standards requiring specific matters to be communicated to the village board, including the limited audit scope related to the required supplementary information, RSI, section within the CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. No new accounting policies were adopted, and the application of existing policies was not changed. All material accounting estimates were reasonable. Misstatements, year-end adjustment journal entries were corrected, and there were no difficulties or agreements with management during the course of the audit. None of the misstatements detected as a result of audit procedures were material, either individually or in the aggregate to the financial statements as a whole. Misstatements typically reflect year-end adjusting journal entries prepared by the village but not posted until after the auditors have started the audit process. Also, a management letter. Auditing standards also requires communication to the village board regarding certain matters that are opportunities for strengthening internal controls and operational efficiencies. The fiscal year 2020-2021 management letter reports there were no findings of material weaknesses involving the village's internal control. The management letter also identified several upcoming pronouncements which will need to be implemented in subsequent CAFRs. Since March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has negatively impacted national, state, and local governments. In an effort to maintain all critical services to residents, the village did not impose any immediate changes to operations or staffing, specifically in public safety and public works, as residents' health and well-being remained a priority. In addition, the village, in conjunction with the LGBA, attempted to minimize the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the local economy through marketing, advertising, and business retention and recruitment efforts. As it was recognized that the economic impacts of COVID-19 pandemic were far from predictable and the duration would be unknown, in April of 2020, the village developed short-term and long-term budget and operational plans to manage the COVID-19 pandemic. As more information became available, the village implemented the following initiatives: postponed one-time larger discretionary projects such as the comprehensive planning process, resulting in a reduction of expenditures of $125,000. 2, applied for and received approximately $320,000 from state and federal COVID-19 relief funds. Maintained personnel vacancies for certain positions, as well as incurred savings from temporary vacancies across several departments. And 4, utilized the LTAC reserves to pay the village's annual contribution to LTAC, which was decreased due to the addition of Countryside as a new member. As a result of these initiatives, coupled with the stronger than expected sales tax revenues during the pandemic, the village incurred a surplus of $1,069,158 in the general fund at the end of fiscal year ending April 30th, 2021. The general fund's reserve balance at fiscal year end is $10.8 million, or 69.8% of annual operating expenditures, which is within the village's targeted reserve range. However, the village also suffered a deficit of $398,841 in the parking fund on April 30th, 2021. As such, it may be necessary for the general fund reserves to be used to maintain operations in the parking fund, or for the village to consider alternative funding options to sustain capital projects and maintenance of parking facilities if the reduced parking demand continues in the future. A parking study is proposed for fiscal year 2021-22 to assist with exploring options and opportunities with evolving changes in parking behavior in mind. Mr. Dan Berg, a partner with Sisek LLP, is in attendance tonight to present a brief overview of the audit. At the conclusion of this discussion, it would be appropriate for President Kukler to accept the report on behalf of the village board. No further action is required. And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Berg to present the audit and address any questions from the village board. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent summary. I will focus a little bit more on the process, especially for the newer trustees, as opposed to getting into the numbers, so to speak. So what we annually do is hold a planning meeting with staff, Joe and Lou, to just get a lay of the land and understand what's new, what will impact the audit, what changes have been made financially, procedurally, personnel-wise throughout the village, and then plan our preliminary field work that was done this year in late April 21st. At that date, what we try to do is assemble what we call our permanent file, which would include all the ordinances that were passed and contracts, and also try to plan our audit programs based on our prior conversations. We also do a walkthrough of internal controls, make sure that the narratives, that the descriptions of the policies and procedures are being followed, adjust our procedures as necessary. We also talk to staff and send letters to the board inquiring what their feelings are about the way the village does business, and if they have any inklings or any suspicions of any fraudulent activities. Annually, we talk to or email the last 2 years department heads, and of course the board. And we've received no reports of anything illicit going on. With that, we set up our testing, work out a schedule with the village staff to make sure that we'll hit this meeting deadline and work backwards from there. We have a very robust portal that we use for the village for us to upload a listing of items that is necessary for us to do our work. And then village staff can upload in a secure environment every document imaginable. So we really appreciate it when the client does an outstanding job of filling up that portal and hitting all the items that we need. And I'm happy to report that Joe and Lou did an outstanding job of getting ready for us. Part of our job for final field work that we did in July was to surprise them with a few more things that we asked for. And the quicker they can get those to us, the better. It allows us to complete our work in a timely manner, in an efficient manner, and keep our costs down. That was done as well. And I do want to point out that this document, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, is indeed written by staff. That's a little bit unusual in Illinois. Most of the time, municipalities and other special districts hire their auditor to complete that process. In this case, the village takes full ownership of the document and prepares it. We edit it, take a look at it, and assemble it and review it. Take a look at it, review it, and it goes through various review processes. Gina King, our manager for the last few years, does the first review. I do the second review, and then a second partner also reviews it, as well as our administrative staff look for typos and assemble it and make sure all the page breaks are good and all that kind of stuff. With that, we also have an exit conference with staff, village staff, to make sure that they understand what will be in the management letter, what will be reported to you, and of course, whether or not we can do a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion. So that's kind of the summary of the process. I think Trustee Peterson did an excellent job of explaining the financial areas. And I do want to also point out that the auditor's communication to the village board is extraordinarily thin. That's not usual amongst our clients. It's not unusual, but there was only one adjusting journal entry. There were no material weaknesses. There were no significant deficiencies. So really not a heck of a lot to report to you, which should give you confidence in the documents that you have before you, and hopefully the monthly financial statements that are prepared by the same staff as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about these documents. I know they're long. If you haven't had a chance to go through them, or you got lost or fell asleep during reviewing them, I would definitely start with the management discussion and analysis that compares last year to this year and attempts to explain to the reader what the difference is between the 2 years, the whys, if you will, and also the transmittal letter that appears right before our opinion. Gives you a nice overview of the village itself and a hint to what the village is working on for the future. With that, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Berg. And let me just ask Village Manager Peterson first. For the people that are reading or watching at home, is this online, or do they have to go to the library for a copy, or Village Hall?
Yes, I believe there is a copy at the library, but we also have this available online in the finance, under the finance tab.
Terrific. Thank you. And then Trustee Kotinik, I think you said you had a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. So first off, I'll start by echoing your comments. To see an unqualified clean opinion, no material weaknesses in the internal controls is really a testament to Joe and Lou, so thank you for your continued efforts there. Mr. Burke, a couple of questions despite the, the cleanness of the opinion, just to have some questions to probe a little deeper. How many years have you been engaged by the Village of Lagrange to conduct this audit, approximately?
In the 20 range, I would say.
Okay.
A little under, maybe.
Okay. And is that standard among companies to stay with the same auditor for that duration, or do people switch periodically to get a new, fresh set of eyes?
Well, we have rotated partners once during that time. I became a partner during that time, so we've also rotated the staff fairly consistently as they move up or move out. We brought in people like Gina King. There isn't a consistent policy in Illinois. I do have a few clients that have a rotation policy, or at least go out for proposals from time to time, but I do have a number of clients that I've been auditing since I was a rookie in the early 80s and have been and continue to service them to this day. It's really more of a style. If you're getting good service at a good price and you're happy with the outcomes and the reports, then there's no need to rotate.
Okay.
But it's
fair enough.
Completely up to you.
Understood. In terms of some of the internal controls, is there appropriate separation of duties in respective areas that would require it, or any concerns there, given the size of our staff?
Given the size of the staff. There's a second set of eyes on every transaction that goes through the village, and then third sets of eyes by the various approvals, especially in purchasing. All the adjusting journal entries are either written by Joe or Lou and then reviewed by the other. Same with the bank reconciliations, things of that nature. There is appropriate controls given the size of the organization.
Okay. And then I assume you do financial reviews and audits for other municipalities or similar peer comparisons. How would you describe what you see here in Lagrange against some of our peers generally? So, how do we compare in terms of use of technology, preparation of cyber risk, documentation of process and procedures? Are we, in the top 10%? Are we in the bottom 10%? Anything jump out specifically in a peer comparison group?
So as an auditor, I'm more of a pass-fail guy. And rely on the Moody's and Standard & Poor's of the world to give letter grades, if you will. As to cybersecurity, we believe that the village is taking appropriate steps with their IT to, as best they can, keep up to date with the attacks that are becoming very, very common. What were the other areas?
Use of technology, cyber risk, documentation of process and procedures, so forth.
So the documentation of procedures has been very, very good. Okay. The use of technology, the bigger the municipality, the more high line and high level the technology uses are. The financial software that the village uses, et cetera, is appropriate to its size. And there's certainly money to be spent on larger, more robust systems, but the one that has been used by the village for quite some time now is working. And you guys are pretty used to it by now and good at using it, so as long as that is being updated on a regular basis, it's working and we're comfortable with it and the village is comfortable with it. We have, in the past 2 years, done most of the work off-site, and the village's system has accommodated that, and the scanning done by staff as well of documents has worked well for that, and I thought that was a pretty good test of that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Berg. My next question is for Lou. Since we mentioned our public ratings, is there an affirmation of our public debt at this point? Are we still AA rated?
Currently, we are a AA2 rating.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all I have. I start out by thanking Joe and Lou, but I would also thank the audience. Usually when the finance report comes out, you see a lot of people head for the door, so thanks for your interest as well. But those are my questions.
Thank you, Trustee Kutinek. Any other questions on the audit report or comments? Thank you. At this time, I will accept the report as presented. I appreciate your efforts and the efforts of your firm. Again, to Joe and Lou, we appreciate all your efforts on this document and throughout the year. So thanks.
Thank you.
This time, I will ask if there's any comments by the audience on matters not on tonight's agenda. If so, please state your name. Thank you.
Hello, Board. I'm Becky Lorenzen, 103 East Cossett, Lagrange, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Village of Lagrange Board and the Police Department for the wonderful support that you gave us at the recent Unity Rally. I apologize that I was out of town until this meeting, so I was unable to give you my accolades right away, but it was our best ever attended Unity Rally with more than 120 people present and a lot of really great comments about all the positive activities happening here in Lagrange. And with the police department, a lot of comments, very impressed with our village. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lorenzen. Thank you for your compliments to our police department. We want to echo those from the board to the police. We hear them. We appreciate everything that the department does, all our first responders. We understand it's not easy, and we do appreciate your service. And Ms. Lorenzen, we appreciate you coming tonight and saying those nice things, and obviously all the work that you do with community diversity, especially the rally. We appreciate it. Thanks. Rose.
Hi there, Rose Nassif, 911 South Stone Avenue, and I want to thank the board for addressing the stormwater issues. It's totally a regional issue as well as local, so thank you for representing Lagrange. I think it's important for us to be involved in those conversations. There's some other things we can do as well here in town. Engage more people. So some of our projects are going to be big, like the relief sewers and the detention areas, but there are some other ways we can engage more residents. And I've talked a little bit about green infrastructure before, keeping the stormwater out of the sewers to start with. Other strategies involve individual residents. So expanding their view of how their yard should look, maybe thinking deep-rooted plants instead of lawns, thinking trees that have leaf or bark mulch around them. Just to reduce flooding, pollution, and climate change, we need a variety of solutions. So today, I've been here before to talk about this issue. I'm offering the option of eliminating our leaf collection program. So it's the one where people rake, and in the worst case scenario, they blow their leaves into the street. And the village spends about $50,000 a year on this program to move the leaves around and ship them off. And last time I checked, they were going to Indiana, and I'm not sure where they go now with the new hauler, but they're a valuable resource, and I think we should encourage people to incorporate the leaves in their yards. So from a horticultural specialist at Texas A&M, I'm going to quote how he feels about it, as well as many other naturalists or environmentalists. So leaves contain a wonderful blend of nutrients that a tree needed to grow those leaves in your yard in the first place. Getting rid of fallen leaves doesn't make any sense from an environmental standpoint, economic standpoint, or just the standpoint of how nature grows leaves. So why are we using fossil fuels to send them away? Most people don't think of leaves as useful, but they're not messy. They're nature's own free, slow-release, plant-based fertilizer. So 5 ways you can use the leaves. Mulch them directly into your lawn, hopefully using an electric mower, not a gas-powered mower, which is very polluting. Rake them into a corner of your yard and let them decompose. Spread them on your flower or vegetable gardens. Or put them in a pile. You know, I have a lot of great memories with my kids, raking the leaves, letting them jump in the pile. When you're done, you just mulch them up and spread them on your flower beds. Or if you have a food scrap compost bin, right now is a great time. You're going to need that carbon matter to add to your food scraps. So there are many ways you can use leaves in your yard. You know, from Penn State's College of Agricultural Sciences, compost, this would be leaf compost or your food scrap amended compost, adds organic matter to soils, which improves soil aeration, water holding capacity, water infiltration, and nutrient retention. So because these leaves are nutrient rich, we want to keep them away from our storm drains. So even if the leaves are eventually moved away, they're going to leach nutrients into our waterways, which causes problems downstream. So MWRD has a Healthy Waterways Begin With You guide, and specifically they urge residents to keep leaves and yard waste away from sewer drains and never sweep them into the street. So I encourage, there's a lot of great tips in that guide, so definitely check it out. So what I'm suggesting is something like our mulch program. So I love the mulch program, materials processed locally, right? If you go to Tilden Avenue, you can get some free mulch. It's dye-free, it's chemical-free, it's no hauling required, and there's no plastic bags. So this is somewhat similar. You just do it on your own yard, and there's no special equipment required, just your rake or your mulching mower. So in the announcement that went out to residents, it was great. There was a mention, hey, we have the leaf collection program, but you can also keep them on your yard. I'm just encouraging more education about that, and then eventually eliminating this program. So I know it's small, it's nothing, it's not a huge expensive program, it's small, but I feel like these little things add up, and it's something we can do right now to make a difference. So you can check out, there's more tips under the Green Initiative page on the village's website. If you scroll down, there's sustainability tips for residents. So composting your leaves, and there's like about 10 other things that you can do. Thank you for considering them.
Thank you, Ms. Nassif. I can tell you that I personally do use my lawnmower to ground up my leaves and put in my garden. I'm only meeting you halfway though, Rose, because I use a gas-powered lawnmower. So maybe when that one dies, the next one will be an electric lawnmower. I do think that it's important that individuals do what they can. It's going to take big projects. It's going to take small projects. We do have a new director of public works. Maybe we can look at next year, probably too late this year, but taking some of our leaves that are being transported, I do believe, still to Indiana, mixing those with the wood that you talked about to really try to get a supreme mulch that would be available for people in the spring to take to their gardens. I know that I personally do mix in the wood chips from our village with the leaves, and I think it makes a great mulch. So those are ideas. I don't think we're ready to stop the program, but you're coming up with good ideas of maybe lowering the impact of the program. And baby steps sometimes gets us to where, at least moving forward. So thank you. Please.
Thank you, Mark. Glenn Thompson, 448 South Spring. Of course, drop Lagrange. And Rose, I appreciate your comments. They were very fitting, and coming from a person who has run a biosolids composting facility, bringing leaves in as green waste, which is one of the most important elements you can bring in. So also, as we know, eliminating leaves from the streets would obviously stop a lot of drainage problems we have now and flooding. First off, I'd like to thank every trustee for responding to my email last week. It was great to get your comments, and also for a lot of you agreeing to meet with us. Thank you very much. Drop Lagrange, I'd like to formally welcome Richard Colby to the Director of Public Works. We're glad to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to meet with us as well. And also, as I mentioned to you earlier, it was noted by the citizens, thank you for going out today and raking leaves out of the sewers in the village. Again, getting leaves out of the street is highly important, and it was good for you to be caught in a rainstorm and have to do that. So thank you very much for your time. At Drop Lagrange, we're still trying to work to get a better understanding of the situation, where we stand with the village, MWRD, the intergovernmental agency agreement, and how we can aid each other in solving that. We are getting a lot of requests from MWRD commissioners to put pressure on our board to solve the IGA roadblock. So what we would like to ask is, can we get a copy of the IGA so that we can understand it and fully go through that? There was, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it, there are people that are going around that are employees of the MWRD, walking around our village, walking into parks, and in questioning employees or citizens about, do they understand the slowness of the village, the issues with the village, the lack of response from the village, and why don't we drop our lawsuit against the quarry? We are getting tired of the MWRD employees and staff leading false statements, making half-truths, and also because the village doesn't have a clear picture out on the internet to address that issue. And this just came up to us, so this is kind of new news to you guys, but that should not be an MWRD rogue employee trying to address our citizens to give them bad information. Unfortunately, they decided to pick one of the Grange leadership group to tell them that story to. So we would appreciate to be able to see the IGA so we can better understand it. Understand, we know there are roadblocks. We've addressed them with the MWRD officials, and I just don't think they're understanding that. I do find it interesting as I look around the room tonight, there are a lot of business people here, a lot of lovers of the theater, and understanding the importance of the theater. As I looked at the Facebook pages today for the Lagrange areas for the theaters, everyone was talking about come out to the meeting tonight to support the theater and supporting saving the theater. We do fully support the theater. I'm glad the vote passed, and I think it was really good that we got that done. The thing on the infrastructure pages today was, and as you will notice, I am the only green shirt here tonight. Every other green shirt is sitting at home waiting on the storm to come to flood their basement. It was I think you even mentioned it, you saw it today. People were just worried about what was going to happen tonight. So it's been 107 days since the last flood. Was there going to be another flood tonight? And it just really had a lot of people nervous with the storms that were coming. You know, the thing about the importance of the theater and supporting the theater and the businesses supporting Lagrange, but the businesses also need to support helping cure flooding in this village. We've been doing, you know, if we're going to really support the theater, people spending $10,000 to $20,000 a year fixing their basements don't have money to eat out. Tonight, if the green shirts were to go out to eat in a restaurant, they weren't coming tonight because they're all sitting at home, and this is now becoming a pretty regular occurrence where people who live in the village don't come to your businesses because we're staying at home away from the streets trying to make sure we protect our houses. We all need to work together to solve flooding. We also did a study, our realtors in our group did a comparison. Homes in the Riverside area that are in the flood zone are 5.6% a square foot cheaply sold. The property tax increase or the property tax revenue from those homes is 5.3% less than a home outside that district for the same value home or the same home. So as we move further and further into the flood zone, and we are moving into a flood zone, we start to see that Lagrange homes are now tracked by First Flood, part of the First Street Foundation, which is a precursor to the FEMA information where they pull their flood zones from. They found now that 957 homes in Lagrange will flood in a 100-year event, and 1,583 will flood in a 5-year event. Many of these homes are actually in this downtown area, and they show on the map. You can look up your address and see whether you're in a 36 or 26% risk of a flood. We all know from the MWRD workshop that the 100-year and the 500-year flood definition are now worthless. We are seeing those types of flooding events occur constantly. We are on a very make it or break it time to get this issue solved. We are all must work together to bring awareness to the flooding in this town. And really saving homes has to become more important than saving a theater. While a theater is important and we can do both at the same time. At Drive Lagrange, we're still working very hard. We will be at the same meeting Wednesday night, working with Cook County to try to drum up money and how it should be spent. We continue to work with Marie Newman on trying to get the Office of Emergency Management billions of dollars that they have unspent and uncommitted to come to our village. So we want to work together with the village, the businesses, and everyone in the city and the village to bring money to solve this problem. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Again, there were a lot, so it's hard for me to respond to all of them. I have no idea about a rogue employee from MWRD. If somebody got the employee's name, and we get that, we can communicate with our contacts at the MWRD, find out if it was a rogue employee or if it was somebody doing their job and what exactly was communicated. So we're happy, and that doesn't go just for flooding. If somebody comes and approaches you, the more information that you can gather or calling the police department, they will respond, they will come out and be able to get information that could be quite possibly very important. So obviously getting those things would be wonderful. I appreciate your support, I guess, officially drive Lagrange of the Lagrange Theater. To me, they're not mutually exclusive. The village board, the village staff can do both things and have been doing both things and will continue to work on economic development as well as prioritizing the flooding, and will continue to do so. The IGA, that is a question, I guess, for council, and it may be in the language. I don't know if it's confidential or not confidential. I don't know if we can provide it or not. Okay, so that will go under our advisement and will be dictated by what our attorneys say. The IGA wasn't entered because of the requirement that the funding levels and a certainty that the MWRD was requiring for a funding level. We don't have it in the village, so we're continuing on as we said in the past with the litigation against the quarry. We are pushing strongly forward on that. Every time we're in court, we will be asking for a trial date. We're also working, though, to finalize a pretrial mediation, and probable that will happen in November, but we've mediated these things in the past. They haven't come to an agreement. We're hopeful. It'd be great if we could report that there's an agreement that works, but again, we're going to continue down that path. And I understand that maybe 100% of the residents don't support that, but I think the residents that have met with the engineers, have studied the reports, understand that the 50th Street Storm Sewer Project to date is the best project we have to address the flooding. We've retained Chris Burke Engineering to look at other alternatives, and we're hopeful to get that information. When we do, we'll evaluate it and make the best choices for the village. Again, I'd like to say that the village board prioritizes this matter and has worked tirelessly on this, and any suggestion to the contrary, I don't think is fair. So thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, I would move to trustee comments. Trustee Peterson.
Thank you, President Kukler. I want to publicly thank our Director of Finance and his staff. I had an opportunity to take a look at everything because it was my first time being a presenter, so I was all very excited. Being an accountant, I have been on an audit staff, and I've also prepared for an audit staff. Generally, my journal entries are material at the end of it, and yes, they are. So when I read the management letter, I was impressed. And the recognition by the GFOA is also very impressive. So thank you to you and your staff. I was impressed.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Trustee Kotinik.
Thanks, President Kukler. So real quick, this is an overdue comment, and this goes back to our Task Force 2020 about 5-6 years ago. But we always talked about gateway signage in the village, and I'd just like to recognize Village Manager Peterson and the Public Works Department. A couple months ago, we went and painted the water tower over in Gordon Park, and as you're driving east to west down Ogden, having the village logo on that water tower looks really impressive. It looks clean, it looks welcoming, and it was a great way to incorporate that signage into an existing village project. So my hat's off to you guys on that thinking and proactive making it happen. And then second, President Kukler, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I know there's obviously from the last two meetings, there's a strong vested interest in the cinema. And if you feel it's appropriate, I would ask Mr. Johnson from Classic Cinema maybe to give a brief, broad timeline. I know there's a significant amount of investment going into the theater, but what could we as residents expect in terms of soft openings, and any kind of timeline, again, if you feel it's appropriate, Mr. President.
Absolutely, Trustee Coutinho. First, why don't we just see if there's other trustee comments, and then if Mr. Johnson's willing, he can tell us what the plans are.
Thank you.
Yes, Trustee Ogden.
Thank you, President Kukler. I just had a few things. First of all, thanks to everyone who comes to any meeting and speaks up and says whatever it is on their mind, whether it's on the agenda or not. I know we all really appreciate that feedback. It makes a difference, and it's not easy to do. And thanks to the theater folks who continue to show up and come in with fresh ideas and be open to new options. We're all very excited for this opportunity, and that's what it is. It's a great opportunity for this village, and I think most of us are pretty darn excited. And lastly, to Richard Colby, who I think we're going by Rick, but I don't know if everyone is, but I wanted to say thanks. I had a nice exchange with you over email this week when we were discussing an item on the agenda, and you haven't been here too long, and I wouldn't have expected you to have such a thorough response with such detail. And it was really lovely. And I read it. It was quick, concise, quick response, very concise, very clear, and very thorough, and answered my question above and beyond. And it was just wonderful to see. And we're excited to have you here. And last week was overshadowed. Our last meeting, and I just wanted to welcome you again and thank you. I'm really looking forward to more work with you and what you can do for our village. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ogden. Seeing no other trustee comments, I would invite Chris Johnson to give us an overview of what you have in store for us.
Thank you. So we have been working on architectural layouts and concepts, and we think that we have the layout done. Now tomorrow actually we're shooting some elevations, and then we will come up with a plan, and then we'll meet with the appropriate staff and discuss those and see if there's any concerns, and then we would just go to finalize those plans. My concept of time would be that if we can stage the opening some auditoriums before the other, that would be helpful because we want to get some momentum, and traffic back in. That would be preferred, but again, it has to do with making sure that conforms with the rules. But ultimately said that it definitely would be, in the beginning half of 2022. But there is some substantial work to be done. But time is of the essence, and we have found during the pandemic, the longer you're closed, the harder it is to re-engage that activity. But I have no doubt, given the passion and the residents, that we'll be able to get that going sooner than later, and we'll put all of our effort into that. So I wasn't prepared necessarily to have a full slate, but it is, time is of the essence in our mind. And 2022 has a very nice film slate, and we'd like to take advantage of that.
Well, the village is ready to work with you. We agree with time is of the essence. We agree that if it can be safely done, staging is wonderful. And so we look forward to early 2022. How about we say that?
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Seeing no further comments, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, trustees. All in favor, please say aye.
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 And the meeting is adjourned at 8:56. Thank you, everyone.